If you are a frequent listener to the podcast, you know that we have been sponsored by Fuji Sports for quite some time now. Whether you're looking for apparel, equipment, bags, or accessories, Fuji Sports has got it covered. Go to Fujisports.com to see the latest selection of everything you need for your Jiu-Jitsu, Judo, or MMA journey. That's Fujisports.com. Let me take a minute to tell you about Roll TV. If you're looking to take your Jiu-Jitsu to the next level and supplement your BJJ education, then Roll TV has you covered. RollAcademy.tv has over 1,500 videos covering individual techniques, positions, and concepts, including seminars and workshops with top-level competitors and instructors like Chris Wojcik, Robert Drysdale, Aaron Hurley, Emily Kwok, and more. Whether you are a beginner or more advanced student, Roll TV is the online platform that can take your jiu-jitsu to the next level. What's up, everyone, and welcome back. If you haven't already, please hit the like, share, subscribe, download, listen, and whatever other button there is, and leave us a review wherever you do listen. This helps us bring you the great guests and amazing content that you've come to expect. On this episode, Thomas's guest discusses the importance of taking personal responsibility for one's life and experiences. He emphasizes that individuals are creators of their own experiences and must confront their own truths to achieve personal growth. He also reflects on the impact of his father's influence in his life and the journey of promoting his dad to black belt. He emphasizes the importance of kindness, vulnerability, and creating a legacy through his initiative, Forge of Unity, aimed at suicide awareness and prevention. Here's the Roll Radio with a former Navy diver, owner of Katharo Training Center in Littleton, Colorado, and founder and co-owner of Forge of Unity, Steve Hordinski.
Welcome to Roll Radio.
And we are live. Steve, welcome to the show. How is your day going? Busy?
I was going well. Oh yeah, always, man. It's been going good, man. How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm just hanging out with, great people like yourself, and trying to get to know you and tell your story. As I was getting ready for this conversation, I was trying to dig a little bit deeper what you do, why you do it, what takes you, why jiu-jitsu, not checkers, why what you do. And I came across one of your videos, which really stuck with me, and I wrote it down. And you said, you are a creator of your own experience.
Yeah.
And that stuck with me. I feel like oftentimes we want to do good things. I think most of us have good intentions. We have even dreams, desires, goals. Some of us try to chip away at this. But making a statement of you are a creator of your own experience, that would mean we take a lot of responsibility for what we do. And I think sometimes we miss that point.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I
What,
mean,
what, what is the meaning of that for you?
okay. Yeah, so I've been a long time ago, I got hooked up with this fella. He dropped a book in my office and he said, "Read this." I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna read that." And I read another book. So I got all this information from a mentor of mine, John Rogers. He has been a student of this information, this manifestation kind of mindset. And he's created a wonderful life around it. So I saw what he was doing. I was like, I'm just going to listen to what this dude's telling me what to do. And so basically, it's like a lot of people, in my opinion, they don't own their fucking shit, man. They don't own their mistakes. They don't own their situation, you know? And they just say like, well, it's the environment. It's the I'm a victim, you know? And without saying a victim, that's like they do things that showcase that like, hey, I'm kind of a victim here. I'm just kind of getting tossed to and fro wherever the tide wants to take me, I'm going. And I was like, nah, man, you're creating that. You know, your language, if you think about it, everything's created through this conversation, you know. I can't do anything without language. but I can build a skyscraper if I have some communication, I have a plan. So it's all about communication. And I feel that, we manifest that. It's crazy. I'll give you an example. Okay. And I'm not saying that it's not coincidence, but when you start doing the work that I do and you see so many coincidences happening stacking them up like coincidence, coincidence, eventually you got to say, is that coincidence? Or is there something else going on here? We are powerful beings, man. Our mind is so powerful. Our thoughts drive our actions. Our language creates our experience, but it's all about attitude. For me, it's about attitude. And literally, I've seen my life change. I was a shithead when I was younger. And, one day I decided not to be a shithead no more. I decided I want to get more involved. And so when I started putting my mind to work and I said, this is what I want to do, then I started seeing things take shape, and I've seen it manifest. I mean, the other day I was kidding around. I was sitting there, with my students, and I was talking about one of my dogs. This dog I have, she kills my plants, right? And I brought that up in conversation randomly at the noon class. I came home and one of my fucking plants was destroyed. So I'm not saying that it's possible like that, but it could be. It could be. But like for me, I would rather own it, all of it, all the bad shit, all the good shit, all the shit. I want to own it so I can actually evaluate and say, all right, these are the steps I'm going to take to adjust this behavior, adjust this result, and then I'm going to go ahead and move through here. So I believe that, the mind guides it, but you got to have a destination. You got to have a worthy goal, but you
Yeah.
manifest that shit. Everything is manifested. Right now, we're manifesting something. I don't know what this is going to do, but someone's going to see this and might help them.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. And we'll get to your past in a moment. But it's kind of about kicking this deep conversation here. We get really into layers right immediately, right as we started this. But look, let me challenge this for a moment. Somebody's going to listen to this and they're going to be like, "Well, yeah, it's easy for you to say," or I would do this differently," or I've been doing this and you're the lucky one," or I don't know, grass is greener on the other side. I mean, this is literally what most of the population is doing today. And you're talking about the opposite. Like, you're talking about the hard
Yeah.
stuff. Like, hey,
Yeah.
I fucked up. Like, hey, this is my fault. How about
Yeah.
we talk about this? How about we figure this out? So, like, as I'm listening to you, there's extremes here. There's like opposite black and whites almost, right? So why is it
Yeah.
so easy for us to take this passive aggressive, this victim like mentality and point
Uh,
a finger at somebody else and say, "It's not my fault. I'm good. It's his fault, their fault, their fault. I'm gonna go do something that is bad because I know how to fix this stuff." Why is it so easy for us?
because it's going to require work. The most important work you do, or the hardest work you do in life, is going to be personal development, because you're going to have to examine all the ugly shit about you. And a lot of people don't want to take ownership of that. It's a lot easier. And also, your identity gets wrapped up in this. People have been saying the same story for 20 years, and then you tell them in a moment they could change it. They're going to be like, bullshit, because your identity gets wrapped up inside of all of that. And your
So hold on.
identity,
So are you saying that we cannot change?
no, we can. Yeah, we can. We can change. We can change. But it takes confronting that. It takes like taking it, stepping up to that ugly side of you, or the things that you need to change. Everybody knows if they need to lose more weight, if they need to get in shape, if they need to stop, with the drinking, stop with the drugs, stop with the addictions. Everybody knows what they should be doing. You're like, oh man, I feel like shit. I should stop smoking cigarettes. But are you willing to do that work? Because you're going to have to go against, what your body's craving. Like, I think we get comfort. I think our mind is designed to it's a survival mechanism. So it's going to help us to survive. Well, it also protects the identity. So when you start telling people that, hey, the reason why you are fat is because you eat too much and you need to get on diet and you need to exercise, they'll be like, well, you don't understand. You're not me. They're going to be like, well, I can't do it because of this or because of that. Or I can't stop because of this. I can't eat well because I don't make enough money. Okay, well, let's make more money.
Right.
Let's look at ways, let's grow our own food. You know what I mean? Like it's just because there's more work involved. And that's
Mhm.
why I think people pass the
And
buck
I also think, yeah,
because
let me know what you think
like it's a
about this,
lot
but I also
easier for
think
me to
that like
say, like I could just say,
what you
look, go ahead.
I was about to say, like, what you're describing right now, they are more of a physical, tangible items. Like, I am overweight, or I need to change physical appearance. But I think that's even more difficult when we talk about our mindset, which is less tangible. We cannot touch it. We can't hold on to it. And like,
Hmm. Hmm.
how many times have you encountered somebody who constantly complains or constantly has a negative outlook on life? Everything. And again, they point a finger. It's like, oh, they do it wrong. They do it wrong. Like,
Yeah,
have
yeah.
you came across that?
Yeah, I don't mess with those people. I polarize myself in a way those people stay away from me. Polarize yourself to what you are believing. Like I like think to myself like I'm constantly getting better. You know what I mean? Because I'm constantly working on myself. So I let those people have a chance with me. But here's my experience: people that are so negative aren't gonna like a guy like me. They're not gonna like me. People who like I'm gonna make people are gonna hate me. You know what I mean? That are in that space because I repel that. You know, like I don't want that in my space unless you're willing to make those changes. But people who are on that path of growth, they're more open to what I have to say when I talk to them. And if they're not, I don't waste my time because look, a lot of people trade dollars for time, and I'm trying to get all my time back. So I don't want to invest time with people that aren't worth my time. You know, I want to invest my time with people that I can have a conversation like this with, like we're having. That's what's worth my time because that tells me we're on the same path. Are you trying to get better? Trying to stay the same or trying to get worse? Getting better is the only solution because you're never going to stay the same. You're always going to get worse if you stop working and doing the things that are helping you achieve things and be successful. So I'm not saying you can't change it. I'm just saying it takes work because you have to confront all your pain, all your suffering. And a lot of people ain't ready to cover that. They're not ready to look at that eye to eye and say, fuck you. I'm tired of being like this. Fuck you. I'm going to do something else. They're not going to take those actions until they've fed up. I watch I have family members too that I watch, like I see them struggle. I try to help them, and, I'm very careful with my family because, I love them, I need to be around them. But like, I talk to my brothers. It's like, hey, you should stop smoking. Hey, you should stop drinking. I'm always looking out for people. I would love for everybody to just be happy and healthy. But you know what? You got to have both. We need those people that are on the other spectrum to know what the difference is. We need contrast, And so I've been on the bad end where I was drinking and partying and all that. And then I said, you know what? This ain't serving me anymore. Whatever I thought I wanted, I don't want. It's not serving me. So I think you got to get to that point where it's not serving you. You got to kind of almost hit rock bottom, if you will. And rock bottom is a good place to be because, you hit that. Now, there are levels to that. You can go deeper in the rock bottom. You think you're at rock bottom, it can get deeper. But when you start there, everything looks good when you're looking up.
When you're looking out. Yeah.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
seems like your mission in life is really to help people. It's really to make an impact, set an example, and be, I wouldn't necessarily say positive, but look at life as a good path for us to improve. What's your take
Yeah.
on helping people who don't want to be helped?
Don't waste time with that. It's like I don't know. I'm a man of faith too. So when you first said that, the first thing I said I thought of is when Jesus says, "Let the dead worry about the dead." That's kind of how I am, man. Like I'm not gonna like you got to show me that for me to invest time in you, you got to show me that you're ready for it, that you've prepared yourself to work on yourself. I, I'm I don't go to bars. I'm not going. I don't hang out to places where people are trying to get away from their life. You know what I mean? I'm not looking for an escape. I'm trying to get fully involved, and I want to get fully involved with people that want to get fully involved too with their life. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm on a mission to kind of maybe be an example for someone like me that's looking for. I'm not for everybody. The people who resonate with me are people that kind of think like me. And I'll just tell you this, that I gave everybody a chance with me. But if I think that this is not going to go anywhere or you're not worth my time, I just got to cut it because we don't have a lot of time on this planet. I'm almost 50
But is
years
it?
old now,
But
you know?
isn't that difficult to do? I feel like sometimes, and I even speaking from my own personal experience, we invest a lot of time, a lot of effort, sometimes even financially when we invest into a personal group of people, we put a lot of effort, including them into things, and then things don't go according to plan, and then you got to cut it. You got to make these decisions, and I feel like
Uh-huh.
that's where a lot of people struggle. Like
Yeah, yeah.
even just saying no is very difficult for us as humans, and drawing boundaries and saying, look, you do you, but like this doesn't work for me. I need to do what's best for me. How do you
That's a
deal with
powerful that's a powerful statement right there. You said, when you say no, because I need to look at my own peace, I need to protect my peace. That's a powerful statement. It's hard, yeah. I think it's because, we invest a lot we get attached to things,
that? Hmm.
attachment versus commitment. And, for me, like, and we'll just call that an expectation, if you will. We have an expectation of how something's going to go down, right? And this is shit that I learned, through leadership. I've been doing personal development for decades. I'm always reading, I'm always learning, I'm always studying, always talking, always doing something to be a better, human being. I want to be a fully expressed human being. I want to have my time, have my life, have my things. And so uh I don't operate from expectations, man. I think that what you're talking about there is an expectation. I expected us to work as a team. I expected us to do this. I expected all these wonderful things to happen, and nothing happened. Now I'm fucking pissed and I'm cutting ties with you. No. See, let's take it like this. Let's say there's always going to be breakdowns. There's always going to be shit happening in our life, right? So if I go like this, I say, all right, I am running from an expectation. Shit happens. What am I going to be left with? I'm gonna be upset about the whole situation, right? But if I'm committed to something like a worthy goal, something that I can invest my life into, and that's another thing people don't realize. Everything you do right now, you're investing your life into. So companies you work for, people you hang out with, the things you do, these are all investments, and some investments are bad and some investments are good, right? So focus on the good investments in your life, right? Eating well is a good investment. Having good conversations, keeping good, positive people around you is a good investment. Taking time to yourself is a good investment. A lot of people think of all this rest, relaxation is like, no, I got to work to earn that. No, it needs to be balanced in. So what I did is I said, what do I want to be about in this world? Jiu-jitsu. I think jiu-jitsu helps people. So I teach people, and it gives me a way to connect with people to teach them even further, because of how I live my life and how I conduct myself. I try to be a good example for my family and for the people who are looking up to me. But I have a commitment that I run from. So when something doesn't fit into that commitment, it's very easy for me to cut it because I'm not attached to it. I haven't attached my identity to it. My identity is attached to my commitment. It's like a shield in a way. It keeps me going. It keeps my eye on the mission and my eye on the prize. What is the prize? I'm putting as many smiles and transform as many lives as I can. Like I want to see people win legit. I'm a coach, but not everybody's worth coaching. So
And I think
commitment
that's the hard
versus
part.
expectation. Yeah.
I think that's the hard part for many coaches or instructors or leaders, and then also for people who are to be led or who are to be impacted. What you're describing is, I want to do my best, but you got to do your part, and you got to be willing to do your part. If you're unwilling, then we are both in deficit of the situation. Like there's a discrepancy of this.
Mhm. Most people haven't tried. I would say a majority of the population haven't really tried because the first time they tried to do something that was authentic and real in who they are, maybe they got stopped because someone said, that's not accepted here. Parents, like, I think the way we parent our kids, could be a problem, like you're like, shut up, don't speak, don't speak. Man, that's why you got a bunch of kids that maybe they don't know how to speak when they get older. They're shy, they're scared, they're afraid to go and say hi to people because everything they got as a kid was adults are talking, shut up. No,
Yeah.
kind of attitude, and I don't think that's right. If you want if you want someone to uh, become their fully expressed human being that they're supposed to be, I think what you got to do is you got to encourage them to be bold and outgoing. So like when I see the kids in my kids class, and when I see, I see that playfulness, and I see, and the instructor in me says, cut it out. Well, let's be serious right now. I'm like, no, let's, let's guide them a little bit. Let's change our terminology. Say, hey guys, I appreciate all the fun you're having here, but let's focus on the task so we can get better. Cool. And then that turns them around. Cause I'm not trying to say, no, don't do that. I don't want to be like, oh, I'm afraid to try now because every time I do something, I'm scared that I'm going to get yelled at. And I think that's where we kill off that authenticity in people by putting them in, society's box, you know? I don't know. I'm all about free expression. You know what I mean? So I feel like we gotta let people talk. We gotta encourage that. We gotta let people try. If I see something I don't agree with, I just don't engage. If I agree with it, I encourage. My grandfather taught me this. This is one of the best lessons I ever learned in life. He said, "If you don't have nothing nice to say, don't say shit."
Yeah, you're right. I mean, that's that's right there a strong statement, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people need to adopt that, especially on social media. These motherfuckers get online, they'd be like talking like they would never say that in front of you, but hey, we got a keyboard, you'll never see me. I'm gonna talk some shit, and it's like, bro, why are you doing that? Don't you
That's
like
difficult, isn't it?
that? Well, here's the thing. That tells me that person is actually hurting. You know what I mean? Like whatever they're saying, if it's a negative thing, I'm looking at that as this guy must be a negative person. Because the people that I hang out with, when I do something or they do something, what we say, we celebrate that. Hang out with people who celebrate with you. Don't judge you. Like I used to get people, I used to have some people work for me, people that are like so-called friends that were in my life. And if they're watching it right now, you know who you are. I don't really care. You can call me, I'll still answer, but I don't really care. I don't want you to starve. I want you to eat, but not with me, not at my table.
That's a powerful statement. I mean,
You know?
listen, we don't want you to be hurting,
Uh,
just not around me.
yeah, exactly. But, the thing is like these people in my life that were like that were the people when I would tell them a big idea, they'd be like, I don't think that's a good idea. You're gonna, that's stupid. Those kind of people, I don't fuck with them. Because they're the ones that they're waiting for you to fail. They act like you're a friend, and they're like, yeah, 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 and you do something cool, and you're like, and they're like, so yeah, but you could have done this. Yeah, but you forgot this. I don't want to be with the yeah, but people. The yeah, but people are full of fucking excuses on why they're fat, out of shape, and they can't fucking do anything right. I'm not messing with those people, and I'm not trying to call them out. If you are that person, you want to change, let's talk. If you aren't, I don't give a fuck. Be you. You know what I mean? That's it.
What you're describing is really putting accountability on the other person and or putting accountability on ourselves, I should say. Like if we don't
100%,
want to take
bro.
ownership of a change, why in the world anybody would invest any type of time into anything that we do?
Yeah. Someone told me this. He said, if you don't believe you can do it, then why is anybody else going to believe it? You know,
Yeah.
if you don't believe it here and here, have it here, believe it here. Those two things are connected, your brain and your heart. Some people don't listen to their heart enough, it's too much of their brain. But when those things are aligned, you're a different kind of animal. Because see, and I heard this quote, and I heard this from, one of my mentors, Justin. He said this to me, and it's a quote. He said, uh, the real growth is in the work you avoid and the things you
Yeah.
avoid doing, right? That's where the real
Yeah.
work is. Like, like, ah, man, I should be doing this.
Hmm.
Why aren't I? It's hard. And yeah, 100% auto accountability. Man, I'm gonna get extreme. I will tell this to people, and I can tell who's transformed and who's thinking like me. I say, no matter if I did it or I didn't do it, no matter if it's my responsibility and it's my fuck up or someone else's fuck up, guess what? It's always my fuck up. They're like, oh, why are you doing that to yourself? I was like, huh, that's the only way to be powerful in any situation is you own it 100%. Like, I don't care if it's world hunger or whatever's going on. I don't care if it's what's happening or over on the other world. I can say I'm 100% responsible for that. People are like, no, you're not. Why would you say that? Well, think about it.
I couldn't agree with you more. I couldn't
Yeah.
agree with you more.
I'm 100% responsible for that because now I'm going to take actions or I'm going to be about something. And you know what? I'm going to take actions from over here that are going to make an impact. You know, I mean, like change your world first, you know? And that's another thing people should focus on. Focus on your world first. What does your life look like? Is your room messy? Is your car messy? Is your house messy? If I see that, a messy car or someone sloppy, I'm like, man, that person's hurting. Because your environment shows what you feel inside, in my opinion. It's a reflection of who you are. Everything's a reflection.
Everything that we do, how
Yeah,
we behave, how we think, what we do, who we surround ourselves with.
absolutely.
A lot of
It's a
powerful
mirror.
words that you're mentioning as we keep talking and digging and peeling the onion here. But at the very beginning, you said that at some point earlier in your life, you were a shithead. There
Yeah.
had to be a pivot point. There had to be a pivot point to become what you are. Let's rewind this a little bit. Let's
Okay,
go
well,
back to
we can go way back. I go where it all started. Broken home, dad used to drink a lot. He's alcoholic. Mom died when I was a kid. Um, Pretty much independent. I was a nerd. I didn't really do anything that anybody else was doing. I was a skateboarder. I was a nerd, man. I didn't like doing what everybody else was doing, man. I worked out all the time, lifted weights, did martial arts. Um, but it was all because I was weak. I felt weak. It was all cover up. It was all like, I felt weak as a kid, and I was like, you know what, I need to be tough. So I built all these things in my head of what like tough should be. I mean, here's another reason I didn't really think about this, but one of the first movies my dad was showing me were like all the action stars like Conan the Barbarian. Then you had like, like, think about who the people were. Chuck Norris. All these action stars were the things I was watching as a kid. And I was like, no wonder I turned out the way I did. I had my dad was like, we're gonna watch this today. We watched Conan the Barbarian probably like thousands and thousands of times together. So I mean, like, it's like I was lifting weights with my dad when I was a kid, It was all to be this image of what a tough, strong male role model would be, Because those are the guys that were role modeling me. And I looked at my dad and they role modeled him, you know? And I was like, even though I saw my dad struggle, I saw his alcoholism, my dad was always there, all right? My dad was always my dad, he always loved my father, he quit drinking, he started jiu-jitsu, became my first black belt, fast forward, but we'll go back, but just a little side cliff note there. Um, so it was all cover up to just be tough. So like I was like, well, what am I gonna do now? I'm gonna be in the military because that's what you do. I watch Commando, I watch, all these military movies. Like, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. You know, so I joined the military when I was 18. I was getting in a lot of fights when I was in high school. I'll fight a lot of people. I was getting in a lot of trouble. Hanging out with the wrong crowd. I didn't really care too much about school. I wish I would have. I didn't find out I was a good student until later on in life, but yeah, it was all cover up, man. And then, I got in the military and then I wanted to go into Buds, wanted to be a Navy SEAL, and I couldn't do it. They wouldn't let me. My vision was bad at the time. I had to wear glasses and shit. And so I was kind of pissed off about that. So fast forward, I got to the ship, hated it. They needed a search and rescue swimmer. So I was like, I'll go become the search and rescue swimmer. So I volunteered for that class. It was 1 month long. I was like, well, at least I'm off this fucking boat for a month and I get to do something like what I'm trying to get into. I went down to Coronado and I say, hey, I want to do this. They're like, you can't. Can I get a waiver? You can't. I went down to the compound. I like 3 or 4 times in my life, I walked in on the quarter deck and I said, hey, I want to talk to someone. I want to do this. And they're like, every time, shot down, shot down, shot down. So I'm pissed. I go back to my ship. We get home ported in Hawaii, and I'm just not happy at all. Fast forward, a lot of fast forward because we're going way back. I found jujitsu. Not by it was by
How
accident.
old are you?
I was 20. I was probably like 20, 21 maybe when I found jujitsu. And I was just lifting weights and doing my own martial arts because I did martial arts. I studied Kempo karate. I was a black belt there. So like I took that practice with me into the military. I lifted weights every day. I lifted every day, Monday through Sunday. I didn't give a shit. I was young. That's what I do. Did martial arts, yeah, like pretty much every day, practice every day. And so that's what I was doing to keep my cool and also to, to not lose it. And then I started skateboarding again because like, well, at least this will get me off the ship and I'll be around. I can see Hawaii. And when we're on deployment, we went on this deployment. I met Phil Cardella. He was a Marine, and everybody knew I was an athlete, martial artist, whatever. I did karate, and they all knew that. They said, "Hey, Steve, you should go down. You should see in the tank deck got some guys that are, doing some martial arts and they're fighting." I was like, "Oh, I'm in." So I go down there. It's jujitsu. I'm like, "What the fuck?" I don't know what this thing was, right? And then the next thing you know, I'm getting my ass whooped by this little guy, and I'm like, I can't. That's not cool. I'm like, fuck this, man. This little dude, my buddy Phil, he wasn't big, man. He was whooping my ass, and I was like, all right, this is legit. This is legit, real. This is what I've been looking for because I've been doing all the martial arts and like all the martial arts in the world. They don't really answer. Like it kind of worked. That's why I fought all the time. Is I was trying to find shit that worked. It wasn't because I wanted to fight people. I was like, I gotta test this shit. So I was fighting for that reason. And then when I found jujitsu, I was like, oh, this is the answer, but not by itself. Like I don't think the jujitsu of today is like the answer, but it wasn't by itself because I was doing martial arts. I was doing Kempo karate. So I was like, oh, this is great. So I got into that. But man, I got real cocky. And once I started getting good at it, I was an arrogant piece of shit, man. If I look at my former self, I'll be like, no, I would not like my
So
this is the person I was.
pause it here for a second because I think what's interesting about this is that most of the stories I hear is that people are cocky or overconfident before they start training jiu-jitsu. But in your
Well,
case,
no, well, I was cocky then too, before I started because
so
I did
did that
martial arts.
increase? Did that increase as you started and you getting good at jiu-jitsu?
Well, because I started competing and I started winning, and I was like, man, I got to pay for this. This is something I love. And then, and then I later I didn't go become a Navy SEAL. I volunteered for Navy dive school in Panama City, Florida. So I became a Navy diver too. I had all the makings of being a fucking douchebag now. Like, I was a Navy diver. I was in great shape. I was like walking around like 200 pounds, 5%, 7% body fat. Not much well, I guess I'm a little lighter now, but I walk around the same. Uh, but I was like that. I was living in Hawaii. I was tan. I was winning competitions left and right. I was doing cool shit in the military. I didn't wear a regular uniform. I mean, I wasn't regular Navy. I was special programs. I was a Navy diver. So yeah, I was cocky. I was
How did that
way
make
too
you?
cocky.
How did it make you feel inside? What's going through your mind? Is it really that you are confident and cocky and like you are the shit, or is it more of a confident man who has established something in his life?
I think it was. I think it's hard to say if it was like always the same. I think it just depended. I think it was like a meter. Like sometimes I'd be like kind of douchey. Sometimes I was like, oh, I've earned it. And it was just kind of playing in that area. I tried to still be pretty cool with people, but like another thing that didn't help me is I had no social skills whatsoever, man. Like, man, and,
Why
and I
not?
think that I don't know. I just didn't. I like I said, I didn't really talk to a lot of people until I got older. And
It does. You don't appear like a person who doesn't have social skills. I'm just saying.
well, yeah, it's been a lot of practice. First time I had to do something really uncomfortable is I got in some trouble while I was in the Navy, of course, troublemaker. And I had to give a speech, right? I had to write this fucking speech, and it was about the core values of uh of the Navy, honor, courage, commitment. And I had to do something while I was on leave to get myself out of trouble. Even though like I didn't really get in a lot of trouble, but I was kind of a little wild, a little crazy. Um So I had to go. I came back on leave and I did this volunteer work over at the military cemetery of Fort Logan here, and I was digging. To doing burials and shit. And I'll walk around looking at all the. I mean, I was part of a few of those funerals. That was, and it was right when the war was like really, there was stuff still happening. So there was always like, when I worked there for that summer or those 2 weeks, I did probably, I don't know, like 7 military funerals
Wow.
there at Fort Logan. And guess what? They were all young. They weren't fucking, they weren't like old men. These were fucking
That's
people that died
heavy.
in war. Yeah, they were
How
dying in
old are
war.
you then?
So, I'm probably like 20. Let's say probably like 26,
I don't care
26.
how tough you are. That's heavy.
Oh
7
yeah,
funerals?
oh yeah, and it was me just kind of being part of it as a volunteer. I was digging the holes and shit. I was working it was like kind of my punishment to do this community service when I was on leave, and I agreed to it because I valued being a Navy diver. I love being a Navy diver, and when my Master Chief and commanding officer, when that's what the punishment they gave me for being fucking late. I'm late all the time, by the way. Still, that was my punishment. I was like, I'm gonna take this, and I'm gonna do what you said because like I'm gonna grow from it. And I took it to heart. So like when I went there with the right attitude. Um, I've always I had a soft spot for that. Anytime I see anything military, anytime I see that kind of like personal, that sacrifice, that human sacrifice for something bigger than themselves, man, I'm always choked up. So when I went there, I cried a lot. Seeing these families lose their kids, lose their husbands, it's just it was very surreal and eye opening. And when I wrote that piece, the first one I wrote, my master chief was like, "No, this isn't it. This is basic. I want the good stuff." So I went back, rewrote it, had to read in front of everybody. I was so embarrassed, but turned out it was pretty good. I think they might have, if I'm mistaken, I don't know if they published it or something or put it in one of those all hands magazines or something. But I know I did a good job because everybody was there. But I had to do it in front of like the whole command. And I was like, I was sitting here reading like this, bro. I was scared.
Why is this embarrassing to you?
I don't know, because you're in front of, I don't know, because people get
Is
stage
it the
fright.
fact? Well, let's dig into this. Like, is it embarrassing because you're reading something personal, or is it embarrassing that you're standing in front of people? Because these are two
I think
different
it's
things.
because, well, I think that part of that in that moment, if I could go back to it right now, which I am, it was more because I fucked up, like, oh, you're late, you're this, yeah. So it was like looking bad. I didn't want to look bad in front of all my, peers and stuff like that. But I said, well, I'm gonna have to do this, so I'm gonna fucking rock it out. And so I
So
think I
wait,
did a pretty good job. So I fucking did the speed, that read it and everything, and then I was done.
wait.
So.
So is this you owning this? Is this the moment where you are indirectly, but you are admitting I fucked up and like I have to do this, and this is it doesn't matter how I feel really. You're standing in
Yeah,
front of
that's
all
how,
these
I mean
people.
that being in the Navy pushed my comfort zone a lot, especially being a diver, because I always had to do shit that I don't want to do. It was always scary. Like I had I was terrified of the water. Put it to you that way.
Wait, what?
Not so much of like being in the water. I didn't care about drowning and stuff like that. That didn't scare me. But being in the water with all that marine life and sharks and shit, I grew up watching Jaws, man. So every time I was on a dive job, especially the night ones, I'm like, I would try to avoid it, but all of a sudden, dun dun, it's going in my head, But and I hated the night dives, but I did them. I hated the night swims, but I did them, and it
Well,
made
wait a
me
minute.
get out of my comfort. Yeah.
Hold on. I want to dig into this because at the beginning of this conversation, we talked about, people pointing finger at somebody else, finding excuses and reasonings not to do things. And I feel like more I'm listening to you had 1,000,001 reasons to say, fuck this shit. I'm not doing this. This is fucking nonsense. And then more you talk, it seems to me like more you talk about things you didn't want to do, yet you did it. So you've done it. So what is going through your mind? Walk me through one of the more memorable nighttime swims that you have to do. You getting in the water with sharks and everything else in it, and you don't want to do it. Why are you doing it? What's going through your head?
Well, I guess you could say like I'm an overachiever. I like to complete things that are hard. I like to do things that people tell me I can't do. And if you tell me I can't do some, I love that. It gives me all kinds of power and energy that I can pull from. So accomplishing things and getting these accolades, like becoming a Navy diver, becoming a search and rescue swimmer, becoming a black belt in jiu-jitsu, becoming a business owner, becoming a Freemason, all of these things that I would do. I guess it's just to prove myself that I was worthy of what I
Is
had.
it proving to
Yeah.
you, or is it proving to the other person who doesn't believe in
No,
you?
no, I don't care about that. I need to prove it to myself because sometimes, like what it was, is like, when parents tell you, like my dad would tell me, you're not gonna amount to nothing when we get in fights when we were younger, when I was younger, and he was going through some shit too, and I know he didn't mean that. He loved me. We have a great relationship to this day. I see him every day, and I think that kind of was the thing that pissed me off is like the last words my dad said to me when I was going in. And look, I didn't almost go in the Navy. Like I had a girlfriend at the time. I was with my friends. It was my going away party, and I'm like, I don't want to go. So I wasn't gonna go. My fucking recruiter and my dad and my recruiter with my bag packed, showed up at my party at my friend's house and said, "You're going." Okay.
Not that you had a choice.
And my dad, his words to me were like, "I'm disappointed you're never gonna amount to anything." And I was like, that cut. I was alone. Imagine getting shipped out to MEPS to get processed into the Navy with that in your mind. The first thing I said is, "I'll show you." So maybe it was with my dad at first. It made me
How
have
long
this.
did you hold on to that?
Oh, I probably held on to it for a while. My when I got out of the service, my dad and we had a heart to heart, and I talked about all of it. And ever since then, once we had that conversation, it was like I knew my dad. I was a little older too, so I understood pain different, understand life suffering better. And so I just knew my dad been through some shit. That's all. So it was easy for me to forgive my dad, and it was easy for him to have that conversation with him. And then and we got to work on the academy. We opened up the jiu-jitsu school together. He basically just wanted to be a part of it. He was retired now. I was like, "Well, Dad, you're retired now, so let's get back to work." But I think, yeah, I think that it wasn't trying to. Maybe it was always trying to prove to my dad that I was awesome. you know, maybe that's what started it. But then it became an obsession. I also I don't have a real good spot for weakness, weak talk, weak thinking, weak actions. And when I see weakness, it's like I want to just like go military mode on that shit. Even if it's like
Has it always
someone
been
like the
like this?
students. Yeah, as long as I can remember. I never like I had my grandfather was a um pretty stoic kind of guy, if you will. Like he didn't say much, didn't cry much. He would tell you love you, give you a hug. He was a very tough man. He was a good mentor. He went to played college football. He got drafted into like I think he was going to play for some pro team. It was back when they had the pigskin helmets. He became a mechanical engineer and he worked for like, various companies. I think he did some stuff working with NASA, all kinds of stuff, but he was a Freemason. But the things that my grandfather always told me is like, he'd always, he'd always give me the right amount of lecture. But he was hard, man. He was hard. So like growing up, I was told, don't be weak, be strong, stand up for your family. If someone disrespects you, you decide what you want to do. But if it disrespect your family or your brothers, you fight. I was like, okay. So like the first time I ever got really disrespected, my dad made me go up to the neighbor and confront that. He's like, nope. I think that the guy punched me. I was crying. Come home in the corner, they're crying. My dad's like, we're going
Right.
back up there.
Wait. Rewind. How old are you?
Oh shit, I'm probably like 10 years old, 12 years old or something like
Oh,
that.
wow. Okay.
Yeah,
What
so like,
happened? What happened? Walk me through this. What does disrespect mean in that scenario?
well, I got punched. They were taking my shit and destroying my things and then punched me. Well, the kids up the street punched me. I came home, dude, they punched me. My dad says, you take your fist like this, hit him right in the face. I was like, okay, yeah, Dad, thanks for teaching me that. He's all right, let's go. I was like, whoa, I got to do it now? I haven't even practiced. So we went up the street. And I didn't do it, but I saw my dad. My dad was teaching me, you got to stand up for yourself. My grandfather was teaching me, you got to stand up for yourself. And you stand up for your family. And that was always the biggest thing for us was like family. This family. So, it definitely shaped me there, and weakness wasn't really accepted in my family. We didn't, we didn't accept, like if you were weak, you know,
Many would
I don't,
say, many would say that this attitude, this behavior, makes you very disconnected from your feelings in a sense of too macho. Like we need to be. There's a lot of people out there right now that emphasize being vulnerable, being emotional, letting, especially for mental health for men. What you're
yeah,
describing is something completely opposite. It is in a sense of, look, there are boundaries. We stay with those boundaries. We respect each other. There is this higher code of what this should look like, and we will
mhm,
protect it at any cause. What
mhm.
are your thoughts on this?
Well, I I think that comes with age, time on this planet, where you start to find that proper balance or a balance that works for you. Um, I'm not afraid to show my feelings now, and I think it's more because like I don't care what people think. I'm not the most freeing thing for me is when I actually stopped caring what people thought about me. It took a while, It took a while for me to actually really, really get that. And I'm not
How
saying
do
I
you
got it.
how do you let go of this? I see this all the time, and on the mat and off the mat, just in life. We
Yeah,
care about what people think about us so much. It's to the point when we are willing to jeopardize what we
yeah,
stand for the perception of what others' opinions are.
yeah. Um,
How do
I
you
think
let
that's
go
it.
of this? How does Steve has the ability? Like there's, I mean, thousands of guys listening to this right now, and they are like, well, wait, okay, you're tough, you guys, I get it, but like, how
Yeah,
do you let it go? Other people look at me like I have to look certain way, I have to behave, I need to be tough, I need to be the provider, and whatever it is, or even some of the girls listening, like I need to look certain way, I need to present my certain way. Like I feel like
yeah,
the external image, it is so important to us these days versus sticking to the core of what we believe in.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. I can only speak for me, from my experience. I've invested a lot of time in developing this, and in developing my body, and in developing my skills. And I think the confidence comes from that, you know, um, preparation. I prepared myself to be who I am today. I prepared myself to be a better version of myself tomorrow because of the work I'm doing constantly doing something for my mind, constantly doing something for my spirituality, and constantly doing something for my body. Right. And I'm constantly learning about those important aspects of life, mind, body, spirit. And I believe that balance is important. I have a mentors in every aspect of my life. In my business life, I have mentors. In my jiu-jitsu, I have mentors. In my spiritual life, I have mentors, and I have, Jesus Christ, in my intellectual, my mindset stuff, I've got I've got guys like John Rogers. I've got people that have helped me in sales. People have helped me in leadership. I think that where you can get to that point and where you don't give a fuck is that you know so well who you are and what you're about. And when you understand that and you're an expert, become an expert in something, and then make sure you stay expert. Keep investing in that thing that you are an expert in. Me, it's jujitsu, right? And then from there, I became pretty good at business. I became pretty good at personal development and leadership. I get pretty good at coaching, right? But I have one thing that's teaching me how to excel. And when you are fully prepared and you know your craft, you are very confident. So it's easy for someone to say, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, and be like, next. I don't give a shit. I know what I'm talking about. I do it every fucking day. Like, I have people when I post techniques and stuff online, they're like, that shit'll never work. I'm gonna try, bro. It works for me. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I could probably make it work for you if you come to my class.
Yeah.
So like, I think it took me a while to do it though. Look, I had a level of it that I was touching on. I broke through when I just started getting really active on social media, because social media, like, you can come and say like, hey, you're a fucking piece of shit on social media. But if you tell me to my face, you're going to be a little bit more hesitant, because there are repercussions that could happen. I'm not saying I would do it, but if you confront me like that, I'm going to fight you, maybe, right? That's what they're thinking. I'm not saying I would. I'm just saying, give it an example. If it's over the internet, there's
That's
there's
easy.
there's barriers of layers of protection. There's layers to get through to get to a real encounter with me. And I guarantee you, if you're hanging out with me in person, the energy's different. We're gonna be friends, or you're just gonna avoid me altogether. Like, that's what I want. I don't want in the middle. If you're in the middle and you please everybody, you're not pleasing you're not being true to yourself, in my opinion. And
Well,
I did that.
can you
Go
even
ahead.
please everybody?
Well, let me tell you a story. When I was married and I had the school right before 2020, I had different types of people. I had a very if you were going to go politics, I had a very conservative, I had libertarians, and I had Democrats. I had everything mixed in. And I didn't know that. I just knew that there were cliques and there were problems. And what I would try to do is mitigate. If I didn't agree with this, I would still try to mitigate. If I didn't agree with this, I would mitigate. And when 2020 happened and my life went kaput, and it was like, oh shit, lost a lot of students, people that I thought were my real friends and real family, right? And when you see all this shit go up in smoke and you see how superficial all those connections were, right? Everything, when it went kaput like that, I realized I fucked up. I should have been my most authentic self in the academy, and I would have got rid of all those people, or they would never went, and I would have never went through that much suffering. So it was a painful lesson. It was a painful lesson because if I had been who I am, then I wouldn't have had all those shitheads in my school. And if you're hearing this now and then you're one of those shitheads, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it like that. People that didn't belong around me. Um, if I would have been my most authentic self. So I learned a lesson there. I said, polarize yourself, polarize your business, polarize. Don't neutralize, polarize. And that's the way because nobody's going to remember the middle guy. They're going to remember the guy that made the biggest fucking stink. Why do you think everybody knows about Donald Trump? Love him, hate him. He's a fucking marketing genius. You know what I mean? Like, show your work, show your activity, show that you're busy. And that's what I do. And when I started doing that, and I said, you know what? I'm going to be the person I am. I'm going to get hate. I love it. Because that means that I'm doing it right. When I get hate, when I get people that don't like me, that's good. Because that means I'm not in the middle. I'm not in the dead zone. I'm not average. Don't fucking be average. You know? Be exceptional. Be legendary. Everybody's capable of being exceptional and legendary. Like, that's the thing, too, is every single human being has fucking greatness in them. But they're fucking afraid of it. Or it's been pushed down like, nah, I can't do that. People are going to laugh at me. People are going to make fun of me. People are going to hurt me. So getting over that fear and jumping in both feet feels good after a while. First time scary. Do it again. Do it till it's not scary, and then it's freeing. And you don't give a shit what anybody thinks about you.
I love it. This is so deep. I love it. As all of this is happening, at some point, you get your dad to step on the mat.
Yeah, that was amazing.
That has to be a unique moment in your life.
Yeah, well, so here's how it happened. I come back home on leave. I'm a Navy diver now. You know, I've got a fucking awesome job. I started the all Navy Jiu-Jitsu team so I can get more leave and travel and do competitions. I was the only one on the team, you know. I found ways to work the system, bro. That's what I'm saying. Be resourceful. Don't take no for an answer. Find an answer. And so I was home on leave, and I was like, Dad, I've been doing this thing called Jiu-Jitsu. He's like, okay. I want to find this school. I found a school in Boulder. All right, I want to go there. Can we go there when I'm on leave? He's like, yeah. It was a mall Easton Jiu-Jitsu. So I was like, well, I'm going to hang out at there, you know? And so I did. And I got connected with Amal and Elliot and all those guys back in the day, you know? I think Elliot was a white belt back then, you know? So it was super cool. And Amal was a brown belt and I was a purple belt, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And I go to the school. I'm like, I like this place. So I went, and while I was on leave, I would train there, right? And my dad would take me down there, and he would just watch. My dad would smoke, and he was drinking. These are the two things he was doing in life. And he wouldn't be alive to this day if it wasn't for jiu-jitsu. I promise you that. He's 75 now. He's still on the mat training. I didn't know he was training jiu-jitsu. You know, I went back home, or went back to the Navy, went back to Hawaii. I got back into my regular life at the time. And I was calling my dad, and I was like, "Hey, Dad, how you doing?" Da 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 da. And we were just talking, and all of a sudden he slipped up and he said some jujitsu terminology that I know. I was like, "Wait a second, how do you know that? You've been training jujitsu?" He's all, "Yeah." I was like, "What do you mean?" He's all, "I figured I'd give it a year, and because you said you wanted to open up a school when you get out of the Navy, so I figured I should learn something about it." So my dad started training with Mal Easton in Boulder. And then he kept going. And then when I got out of the Navy, I had stepped away from jiu-jitsu. My dad was doing more jiu-jitsu than me for 2 years. He was trying to get me back on the mat. He was trying to get me to come and train with Eastons and stuff like that. And I would show up here and there. Um, and then one day I was working sales jobs. I was not living who I was supposed to be. I was living a fake bullshit life, trying to get money, trying to fucking chase chicks, trying to get fancy cars, to wear nice clothes and shit like that. And just, it was bullshit. It was all fucking superficial crap. I was not happy. And, I worked a few sales jobs. I was doing oil and gas. You know, I did pretty good. I learned a lot that's when I learned how to talk to people. Well, talking to rich people all the time, getting their money or trying to. And I mean, it was good private, it was risky stuff. We were drilling wells, so we were getting private investors to do that shit with us. And that's hard. That's hard. So I always try to do things that were hard. That's another thing. Always do shit that's hard because when you succeed at it, it's worth it. And then it was like I had to step away. We used to get so fucked up drinking during lunch so we could come back to work and get on the phones so that we didn't care, so we could sell more and we could actually, we were doing 12-hour days on the phones. It was hard work. And so this dude, I went to go eat, we're drinking, having our shots, drinking our beers, eating our food. We're gonna get back on the phone, suit and tie every day. And this dude looked at my ears and he said, "Hey, you wrestle?" I thought, "No, I do jujitsu, or I did. I had quit jujitsu. I had considered myself, I quit jujitsu. I had given up on jujitsu at that point in my life where I was like, I'm done. Be a brown belt for life. Never going to get my black belt. That's it." And this guy, Justin Salas, he was the upcoming fighter. And he said, "Hey, um, I'm a fighter, and I want to be in the UFC. I, I think I got a chance, but I don't have any jujitsu. Can you teach me?" I was like, nobody ever asked me to do that. So I'm like, sure. So I showed up the next day, suit and tie, and I quit my job.
That
So then
just like that, huh?
I said, I'm fucking done. I quit. So I went from making money to making no money to get my car repoed to living on couches and shit like that to teach jujitsu for fucking nothing at LA Boxing while they're playing all this booty shaking music. I had to yell and teach, but it got me started, got my foot
Well,
on the ground. We had to
that's a unique start to the teaching career.
right. And then, Justin Salas, he's a coach now, boxing coach and wrestling coach. And he's got some really good fighters. He works with Trevor Whitman, stuff like that. But he made it to the UFC. He
Yeah.
did exactly what he was going to do. And so I was coaching fighters back then, stepped away from it, had a falling out with some people, opened up my school with my dad. And I remember when I moved back home, it was a very humbling experience. I had to move back and live with my dad, right? I had my car repoed. I was starting from 0. It was looking pretty bad. And I said to my dad, I was like, "I don't know what to do, Dad, but I think it's time to open up the school. I want to open up the school. How do we do it?" He said, "Let me talk to Grandma." So my grandma fucking wrote us a check for $35,000. And that was $35,000. We bought mats, got a place, painted it with the family. My brother painted it, and that's how we started. My grandmother, I wish my grandfather was alive to see it, because he kept telling me, "When are you gonna get your shit together? When are you gonna get your shit together? I wish you're gonna get your shit together." And I did get my shit together. I was starting to before he passed away, but I wish he could have been there when we opened up that school, the first one.
Do you feel like you get that check for 35K? Do you feel like that's a new start for you?
I was scared. I
Were
didn't want to
you?
let my mom. I didn't want to let my grandmother down. You know, I didn't want
What
to
if
let
it
the
didn't
family
work?
down. Yeah, what if it didn't work?
How confident are you? I mean, your entire life, you seem to be extremely confident and you do what's necessary to get the job done. For the first time during this conversation, you actually say that you are scared. You are not sure. You're doubting
Oh yeah,
yourself.
I was scared the whole time. Everything I've done, I've been scared that I've done. I've always been scared. Like going into the Navy, leaving my family, leaving my comfort. I was scared. You know.
So wait a minute.
Um,
Hold on, Steve. So I feel like this is really important and pivot of this entire conversation and your story, because many guys will listen to this and they will say, it appears like you never scare Steve. Steve is tough. Steve overcomes obstacles. Steve has a plan. Steve will do anything necessary to come out on top. He hits the bottom, he gets up. And yet you say that you're scared. Is scared acceptable to us?
I think there's a difference for me. Scared isn't fear.
Explain.
Fear stops people. Being scared just lets me know I'm doing something dangerous or something that's going to level me up. I think being scared is growth. Fear is stop. I don't stop the growth. I get scared and I go. I was scared to be a Navy diver. I was scared to do a lot of things that I just said, you know what, I'm going to do it. Because fear didn't stop me. Fear is bullshit. false evidence appearing real. I'm sure you've heard that before. You know,
Mhm.
face everything is another one. Was it face everything? And can't remember the other part of it. Face everything, and I can't remember the other one. But fear, false evidence appearing real. I know that fear stopped me because then I would have felt weak. I would hear my grandfather's voice in my head, like, "Don't be a fucking weak man." And he would never cuss at me like that. You know, he didn't. I would say my grandfather, he didn't cuss like I do. I was in the Navy, so I cuss a lot. Um, but I could hear my grandfather's voice whenever I would get to that point. And also, I believe in God, man. I trust God. If God wants me to come home today, He'll take me home. If God wants, that's that's another thing. We're gonna die. How you gonna die then?
Only certain thing in life.
Let's say this. Better yet, how are you gonna live? We're all gonna die. How are you gonna live? Yeah. Another really important one that I heard that really kind of stuck with me all these years, probably decades now, is someone told me, said, you got a birth date and a date when you go back to the maker, a death, right? All you have is the dash. All you got is that dash in between. When you look on tombstones, all you see is that dash. That's your life. What does it mean? What is it going to be about? And so for me, I'm going to make sure that when I leave, that when I'm done, I want to be all used up by the people that needed me. So the biggest mission that I'm on right now, not with the jiu-jitsu, is the with the Forge of Unity. Forge of Unity is a company that I started by accident. I didn't want to do this. I had a friend of mine. He called me. He said, "Hey, you remember my buddy Keith that passed away, that killed himself?" I was like, "Yeah." Well, I got all this stuff and I don't know what to do with it. I was like, "Well, what is it?" So he sent me a bunch of information. I looked at. First thing I said, "I can't do nothing with this, Tim. I'm out of here. I can't help you with this." I thought about 5 minutes later. I called him back. Why? Because as soon as I got off the phone with that, I hear that voice in my head. I hear something pulling on my heart, and I'm like, "We'll make that the logo. We'll make this brand, and we'll make that logo to honor his friend." So I say, "All right, Tim, let's try this." So I met with a manufacturer here in Colorado, and we started this whole company, Urban Tactical Fitness brand, Forge of Unity, weighted vests, sandbags, whatever. But it's more, I like that. I was like, I don't want to be about that. I want to be about lifestyle, right? So we've created a lifestyle brand, and it's a Forge of Unity where we're helping bring people back from that darkness. It's for, people that are suffering, 35, 50-year-olds that maybe going through some life. Maybe, they didn't do the things they want to do when they're younger. Now they want to try some things, or maybe they're getting their ass kicked and they don't want to be around. We're trying to help with that suicide awareness. So what I started doing through a company, JWX, Justin, all those guys, and I said, "Hey, I got an idea. I got a brand. I need help learning the ins and outs of social media and how to do this properly, and how to be a better leader for my community. And I signed up with him, and we started this thing called the Pull Your Age Challenge. And for me, I've always said, I don't want to be 50, but I'm going to be 50. But if I'm going to be 50, I'm going to do 50 consecutive pull-ups, no break, all at the same time, just to say, like, there's no excuse. You could be fit in your 60s, in your 70s, and in your 80s. I've seen it. So, and then it just started going like deeper. And I'm like, man, I'm gonna do these pull-ups for suicide awareness. So I started this thing to do 50 by my 50th birthday for suicide awareness. It's been catching on. But I don't think I'm ever gonna stop. I think I'm gonna try to do 100 pull-ups one shot. The world record is 77 in 1 minute. So I don't know. But I just like goals, man. I like challenging myself.
Yeah, that's pretty clear as as we go through this conversation. I feel like the steeper the goal, more motivation you have.
I don't think I'll ever stop, to be honest. I don't think I train every day. I do pull-ups every day now. I've been doing pull-ups every fucking day. I'm on day 22. So I've been doing 3 sets of 10, or I've been just busting out 30 to 35 in one set and then doing 20 more. Like I'm just like, I'm doing pull-ups every day. And I don't think I'm ever gonna stop, man. because why should you? You're either going to get better or get worse. I choose to get better. Set a
Good for you.
goal. Yeah. You set a goal. Once you achieve the goal, you set a new goal. Don't ever sit there and say, I did it. Nah, fuck that. Set another goal. Say, hit a goal, set a goal. Hit a goal, set a goal. Hit a goal, set a goal. It should never stop. That's life. You got to keep going.
As we believe it or not, we've been on this for over an hour. But
Yeah.
before we start wrapping this up, one of the things that I wrote down to ask you about is the moment when you gave your father black belt. That had to be very meaningful to you.
Yeah. I love my dad. Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking about where to go with this. Well, I used to be with Helson Gracie. I was a Helson Gracie black belt, got to my second degree with him. I was part of that team for a long time, and I opened up my school. Helson Gracie, Colorado was the first one. And man, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing as a leader. I was terrible. But I kept trying, kept showing up. My jiu-jitsu, I got better at teaching. And I started getting people in there, and I started getting a pretty big school. I had about 150 people in that school. It was crowded, And I remember when every time I tested for Helson, you have to be perfect on the self-defense. You have to be perfect. Like you can't, if your hand's supposed to be this way and you do this, fail. He'll fail you right there and walk off. Very extreme. And I passed it. Did pretty good. I had to do it for my first degree and my second degree. But what started happening is people started coming to me to get ready for Helson's test. So I would have people flying in or meeting me at places or bring me down for seminars, and then we would film the self-defense program, and then I would work on it with them, and then they would come and see me. So I was helping get guys ready for black belts with Helson. And Helson, I don't think he was running his school anymore or whatever. Um, and everything was good, but this one time he came down. He came down to test my dad and two other guys for their black belt, Nick Mays and DJ. So I was like, all right, let's go. He came in and he was coming from Vegas. And, Helson, he's kind of a little wild, like to party and stuff. And his frame of mind was off. Probably, I'm just going to be real, hey, man, Helson got a substance problem, back then. I don't know if he still does, but he was showing up fucked up at my school. And that was the day that I left the association. It was that weekend, mentally. I came in there and I was really happy, bringing Helson in. My dad's testing, Nick's testing, everybody, DJ's testing for their black belts. It's going to be super cool to get some new black belts on the mat. You know what I mean? And he was an asshole. He was rude to my students. He was rude to my dad. He was rude to my students. And he was maybe he was coming down, from partying or whatever. But I just remember, I was like, what is going on? And I asked Helson one day, I said, hey, I've never told anybody this story, so I don't know how this is going to go on the internet. But like I said, whatever, man, it's the facts. The facts are the facts. I'm not going to dilute them. And I remember asking Helson, I was like, Helson, you mad at me or something? Because he was acting weird. He wasn't teaching good classes. He wasn't, he was just kind of being kind of irritable and stuff like that. And I let it slide for a couple of days, and then we're getting ready to do the test. And one guy comes in and tests, and Helson loses. Said, I'm not testing anymore. I shouldn't be here. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. And I was like, man. And then he was kind of disrespectful to my dad. So I threw everybody out of the academy and I yelled at Helson. We had a long conversation. And at the end of the conversation, I was like, well, I'm just not going to bring him out anymore and just pay him his association fee and just call it good. I don't want to deal with this shit no more. I don't need this. And I knew, man, like nobody was there for Helson. They're all there because I had put the flag there and they were trained. They're all my students. They didn't care who was Helson Gracie was. They care about who they were training with, And in that moment, what I was really pissed off, he wasn't going to test the guy DJ. He was disrespectful for my dad, but the icing on the cake is he wasn't even going to test a guy who didn't have a lot of money at the time, who his students helped him get to Colorado so he could be there for 1 week raise money for him so he could test for Helson. And Helson didn't even fucking test him? I was out at that point. I was like, fuck this, man. That is not right. You don't do people like that, man. And that was the biggest thing right there. So what I did is I went through the rest of it. The seminar was garbage. I mean, it was so bad that like people were walking off the mat. And there was only 2 people left, me and 1 purple belt by the time Helson was done teaching. People just got up and left. He didn't even know that they were fucking gone. He said, well, I'm gonna go home and cook. And I looked at my purple belt. I was like, you want to roll? So we trained for an hour. That was it. That was it. It was bullshit. It was complete bullshit. I hate to bring this up, but maybe you use this if you want. I don't know. But
So at which point your dad is becoming a black belt?
I had to do it later. When this whole thing was, it blew my mind that I was doing this in the district of my dad. So I said, what do I do? So nobody got tested. Nobody got their black belt. DJ went back to Texas, and all his academy, his students were thinking like he's going to come back as a black belt because he put in the work. He didn't even get tested. So I was like, all right. So what I did is I talked with my dad. I talked with some of my one of the black belts that was there at the time. I said, well, maybe we just promote him, or maybe I just promote him, and I bring everybody back out next month and do it. What do you think? He's like, yeah, let's do it. I was like, so that's what I did. I brought everybody back out. I tested them, and I promoted all of them to black belt because I had worked with them so long to get them ready that I was like, you know what? They deserve this. So I tested my dad. He did great. I tested Nick. Did great. And I tested DJ. No, actually, DJ back. I went to go see him that time because there was no way he was going to come again. So I went to his place later on, and I promoted him in front of his students. I promoted him to black belt because he had earned it. We did the test and everything there too. So that was missing.
Do you
So
feel
that
like
was my first one.
Do you feel like this was a new beginning in a sense of the current state where you find yourself?
Yeah, and I had good support, man. Like Master Kaiki, he had known me since I started jiu-jitsu pretty much. And he had good friends with Helson. And I remember when I went through that and that happened, Helson wanted me to turn my back on some of my friends in Texas that I had been kind of overseeing and helping. They stayed with me when this all happened because I wasn't going to leave Helson until he threw these guys out. And he was like, Steve, I'm throwing out Jeff and these guys and Chad. And if you go with them, I'm throwing you out too. And I just said to him on the phone, I said, Helson, you don't have to throw me out. I quit. I'm leaving. And I went with
Is that
those
a
guys
hard
because,
decision for you?
because you don't do that to your people. I had a 5-year going relationship with the guys in Texas where I was seeing them all the time. And they became brothers and people I love and care about. Chad he came to when I got married. He was at my wedding. I went to his place. We've been doing life, so it's like, I'm not going to turn my back on people I'm doing life with. That's absurd. And I told Helson, I said, don't do it, Helson. Don't throw these guys out. And they didn't do anything. And I kept trying to talk sense to him, and he didn't listen. He threw him out, and he told me that if I supported him, he's going to throw me out too. Well, that's the wrong thing to say to a guy like me. I'm going to say, I'm out then. You don't fucking ever give me an ultimatum and expect a good result. I don't take ultimatums. I'll do it. I'm a fucking grown-ass man. I'll do what I want to do. And I want to support people who are good to me. You don't turn your back on good people. That's what I learned. That's what my grandfather taught me. And so that's why I stayed with those guys. And yes, it did make me who I am because I was unaffiliated with anybody for a while. I was just Katharo Training Center. That's it. I was just Katharo Training Center. And but I had talked to Master Kaiki. I said, Master Kaiki, I still need someone to oversee my black belt. I want to have someone who I respect promote me, throughout the black belt. And so Kaiki did that. He didn't even claim me as an affiliate. He came out and did a seminar for me all the time, every year. He was there for our promotions. And then after 3 years of doing that, he said, I'm really proud of you. And he said, I want you to be one of my affiliates. So I said, yes. So I became a Kaiki affiliate because he had earned my trust and loyalty by being just an amazing leader to me, and even to this day, he is an example. He is my jiu-jitsu mentor because every time I come at him and I'm a little sideways, like I'm a little frustrated with something, the guy knows how to talk to me, and he knows how to like bring me down. He knows how to. I love Kaiki. Master Kaiki is like my jujitsu father in a way. You know what I mean? Even my dad says that, and so yeah, I think it was a good thing I did when I left. And you know what? I love Helston too, bro. By the way, I know I talk a little shit, about that. That's what my experience was. But to this day, I wish I could call Helston and say, "Hey, how are you doing?" But I just don't. I just don't think it's worth it because I just don't think that. I don't think I'm going to get a good conversation out of that because it was always hard to talk to him. So I just leave it alone and let it die. Let it die, let it be the way it is. And I'll just love him from the distance. You know, I always had love for a guy like that. I don't think he's a bad person. I just think maybe he's got some demons. So, Master Kaiki, that's my dude right there. That's my dude right there, man. I love him. And yeah, he all how when someone's cool is when they call, first they say, "How are you doing? How's your dad? How's your family?" And then we talk business. You know? I learned that from him. He's a good man,
Well, good for you.
bro.
Good for you. I mean, and I'm happy for you in that sense. Have you ever thought about what would happen with your life if you never gone to Navy, or if you never achieved some of these things, or if your grandma never cut you a check for 35K?
I don't know, man. I don't think I would be a good person. I don't even know if I'd be alive, to be honest.
Are you a
You know,
believer of things happen for a reason?
I'm a believer of yeah, things happen for a reason. I'm a believer of um when you are on that path, you run into other people on that path of the advancing man or being a person of personal growth. Um yeah, I believe that 100%. And I think when you have awareness around this, what you're saying here, nothing ever happens by I don't think it's ever by chance. Everything's there to teach you something. Like everything has value, right? And something you like, for example, something I said in a class, I didn't know, like I don't remember the conversation what I said, but I get an email. What you said saved my life.
Right.
What you said that day stopped me from doing something bad to myself. So I mean, like, yeah, there's no chances, no random. It's not random, but I
There's
think,
always somebody listening.
yeah, there's always someone listening. It's never random, but I think if you are the
Mhm.
captain of your ship, meaning you are in control of what you're doing, then you're going to recognize those opportunities. You're going to recognize that your words have meanings, your words have power, and you're going to be careful how you talk to people. You know, and you're gonna because look, one kind word can save a person's life, and one shitty word can turn them the other way too. It can turn
Yeah.
them the opposite of that.
Couldn't
You know,
agree with you more. Couldn't agree
yeah.
with you more.
We need
And
more
I'll
compassion in
add
the
to it.
world.
I'll
Yeah,
add to it. Not everything
please.
has to be said. We don't have to verbalize everything. We just can't. We don't have to. We can just stay silent sometimes. And we can agree to disagree. It's
Yeah,
okay. It's like,
yeah.
uh,
You can get a lot done. You can get a lot done with just your body language too.
yeah,
How
absolutely.
you handle them. Yeah. I mean, I really like talking to you, Tom. You're a
Man,
good
I mean,
dude, man.
we connected. This is good stuff, man. But
Tom, where
listen,
do
we
you
got to start
live?
wrapping up. We almost hour and a half into this. This might be the longest
Oh
episode
yeah,
we've
yeah.
done on the show. But
Hey,
but
well,
listen,
okay, yeah, yeah. Let's wrap it up. Let's wrap it up.
before we that just means we got to do it again. That's what that means.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
Look, before we start wrapping this up, I want you to briefly talk about Forge of Unity. I want you to talk about where you can be found. There might be people who are interested to connect with you directly as a follow up to this, or perhaps seek, some feedback from you, or just connect with you personally. Social media, websites. Where are you at, man?
Best thing to do is just get on my Instagram. Like that's what I push everything out through Instagram. I have a lot of all my links, everything. that I'm involved in, you can go through it. And it's just my name, Steve Hordinski. I keep it simple. I'm a one of a kind. There's not many Steve Hordinski. The Hordinski name is a very unique name. But Forge
Hey,
Unity,
I'm in the same boat. Like,
you got it, yeah. But yeah, Forge Unity is a company I put together. We are doing. It's more of it's a much bigger thing. So I brought in my CEO is a student of mine. He came in through WeDefy. He's a combat vet. And he was on that program. If you guys don't know, WeDefy is an awesome, awesome program. I mean, I love when I get my vets coming in from WeDefy. And, those are the ones that you really got to lock in with. So Dan, he was a guy that he came in. He got injured real bad right away. So I talked to him like weekly, checked on him because, came in through WeDefy. So I'm extra careful with those guys. I want to make sure that I'm available for those combat vets. And I said, hey, you want to be a CEO of a company I'm starting? He's like, I don't know how to be a CEO. I was like, you're okay. You'll be fine. I'll teach you. You'll learn it. We'll learn as we go. Okay, let's do it. And so he said yes. And then I was like, all right, now I need someone else. So I put a whole team together. I got my best friend who I've known who taught me a lot about sales, Jim. He's my partner in it. So we just said, all right, you're gonna be my partner, co-owner. All right. And he's into it. He wants to get out of his gig. He's got an oil and gas company. So he's pretty awesome, dude. He's a mentor of mine and one of my best friends. So then I was like, all right, Jeremy Witters. We were at the same when we were in high school. Our schools used to fight each other. We've been at the same fights together, knew the same people. We got stationed on the same ship together, and we were on this ship and the USS Frederick. And I was a search and rescue swimmer. He got stationed there the next year, right? And he's like, I'm gonna be a search and rescue swimmer too. So we were from Colorado. We ended up in Hawaii on the same ship together, doing the same job, And then
talk about things happening for a reason.
yeah, and he's trains with me now. His son is going to the Marine Corps, Julian. He's about to go in the Marines, and but he's my operations guy, right? So I got all my friends. I got my CFO. They're all people I train jiu-jitsu with. All people I know for a long time. So what we're doing, we're just trying to we all lost people to suicide. So we're talking more boldly about that, about suicide awareness and prevention. And I'm just putting out content like that all the time. And, I got some online stuff I'm doing too, but mostly that's the big project right now is we want to put a dent in this and see if we can't make a difference around the losing people,
I'm
I just lost
confident
my
you will.
cousin.
I'm
Yeah.
confident you will.
Yeah. It's been a rough one.
I will
losing people.
I'll make sure that we have all the links in the show notes of this episode. So if you guys want to connect with Steve directly, feel free to do it. Check out his stuff. This is all good stuff. I mean, this talk about making an impact. Steve, let's wrap this up for today. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Thanks for
anytime,
sharing
bro.
your story. Thanks for all of this. This was simply amazing. I appreciate your time and thanks for sharing all this with me.
Yeah. Last thing I will say to you, bro, is I appreciate you. I appreciate what you're doing. And I like the message you're putting out with this stuff, and I like what we did today. And I just want to put this out to everybody: just be kind, show love, and be vulnerable. And be vulnerable and give a shit about people. So, all right, bro.
Let's wrap this up for today.
Thank you for listening to Raw Radio. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to leave us a review and help us make the show even more amazing. For future episodes, check out our website and follow us on all major podcast platforms. Take care.